Well, good morning. Good morning once again, everybody. We are observing this very solemn day. We call it Good Friday because Jesus died for us. He took our place. We've been looking all through the season of Lent, the season that lasts 6 weeks before leading up to this celebration of Easter. And we've been looking at what kind of friend Jesus is. And I want you to think about that. Some of you have known Jesus for a long, long time. And sometimes we take for granted the kind of friend we have in Jesus. And maybe there's someone here who would really say in their heart of hearts they really don't know Jesus or don't know Jesus yet. I want you to think about what kind of friend he could be to you today. We're talking about friends. Making friends is weird. Isn't it? Making friends is kind of weird. Like really weird. As kids, it's simple. You like dinosaurs, I like dinosaurs. We're friends. We're like best friends. Boom. Instant friendship. You share your snacks with me, lifetime bond. It's so simple, or seemingly simple, early on. It's kind of weird, it's kind of funny. But somewhere along the way, friendships get more and more complicated. We start worrying about being too much or not enough. We ask ourselves, should I call that person first? Should I text them first? Did I overshare when we were talking? What are they thinking right now about what I just shared with them? Do they actually like me? Or are they just being polite? We try small talk sometimes that goes nowhere. We join group chats. We wave awkwardly across the parking lot and say, hey, we should hang out sometime together. And knowing that you probably won't. And yet we still want it. We still want that. We're wired for it. There's something in all of us that longs for friendship. Someone who would know us and laugh with us and cry with us and stay with us. But if friendship is hard for us, and it can be sometimes, imagine what kind of friend Jesus is. If you're finding friendship hard, think about who Jesus is and what kind of friend he could be. The kind who doesn't ignore you when you mess up, the kind who doesn't get scared off by your baggage, the kind who stays even when the crowd walks away. We're going to watch a video. It's called Brother, and it's a glimpse into that kind of friendship, into that kind of love, a love that looks a lot like true friendship. You're going to hear this refrain, when I look into the face of my enemy, I see my brother. When I look into the face of my enemy, I see my brother. Let's watch.
When I look into the face of my enemy, I see my brother. I see my brother. When I look into the face of my enemy, I see my brother. I see my brother. see my brother. garment of our courage, the power to make the peace we long to know. Open up our eyes to see the wounds that bind all of humankind. May our shudder hearts greet the dawn of light with charity and love. When I look into the face of my enemy, I see my brother. When I look into the face of my enemy, I see my brother. I see you now. When I look into the face, I see you now. I see you now. I see my brother. I see my sister. I see my father. I see my mother. When I look into the face of my enemy, I see my brother. I see my brother.
Friendship is one of the strangest, hardest, most beautiful parts of being human. Jesus was clear. Love God, love your neighbor. These are the greatest commandments. And they're also one of the most fragile. Friendship is the most fragile parts of being human. Author Henry Nouwen once wrote, when we honestly ask ourselves which person in our lives means the most to us, we often find it's those who, instead of giving advice or solutions or cures, have chosen rather to share our pain. But not everyone sticks around to share our pain. We've all been let down. We've all let someone else down. We've all had friends for a season and then silence. Or maybe we've been the ones who drifted and disappointed or disappeared. And that's what makes Good Friday so striking. Because as Jesus is betrayed and denied and mocked and beaten and abandoned, he does something no one expects. He keeps on being a friend, even to the very end. When Judas led a mob to arrest Jesus in the garden, what did Jesus say? Friend, do what you came to do. Jesus knew Judas had sold him out for silver and still called him friend. That's just the beginning. Peter, one of Jesus' closest disciples, denied even knowing him 3 times. Others fled. Religious leaders lied. Governor Pilate washed his hands of the whole thing, and Jesus, blameless, spotless, sinless, was handed over like a criminal, nailed to a cross between 2 actual criminals. And here's where the contrast gets even clearer. Jesus, who had every reason to be bitter or silent, was still doing what he has always done, make friends. One of the criminals beside him joined the chorus of scoffers. Aren't you the Christ? Save yourself and us. But the other turned and said, we are punished justly, but this man has done nothing wrong. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus, battered, bleeding, gasping for breath, gave the most unexpected and undeserved gift. Truly, I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. Even on the cross, what was Jesus doing? He was making friends. And it didn't stop there. As he hung on the cross, Jesus looked down and saw his mother Mary and his dear friend John. In his moments of greatest need, he was still thinking of others. He said, "Woman, behold your son." And to John, he said, "Behold your mother." Friendship, caring, provision, even in death. This is what makes Jesus so unlike us. Where we struggle to keep friendships alive, Jesus never fails. Where we hold grudges, Jesus gives grace. Where we say, "I'm done with you," and Jesus says, "I won't give up on you." Where we scroll past or we try to ignore, he stops and sees and spends time. What a friend we have in Jesus. Even when we act like scoffers, even when we distance ourselves with doubt or sin, even when we're the ones whispering, "I don't know him," like Peter, Jesus still calls us friend. He doesn't turn his back on us. He doesn't delete us or unfollow us. He stretches out his arms on the cross, not to point fingers, but to welcome us in. It is finished, he said, because the work of forgiveness, of healing, of restoring broken friendships between God and humanity was completed. So if you've ever felt like you're not a worthy friend to God, or if you've ever felt like you've blown it too many times with your friends, or if you've ever been betrayed or have been the betrayer, look to the cross, because that's where Jesus makes friends. That's where he makes you a friend. Amen.